Okay. We're gonna do a little bit of stuff for the feet today. So first we're gonna just kind of take an inventory. So I'm gonna have you stand up, and all you're gonna do is feel how you feel just right here, right now. So maybe just walk in place or give yourself a couple jumps or something, and then just wherever you settle, I just want you to notice the weight in the bottoms of your feet. So before you correct anything, just check, do I feel more weight in my right foot or my left? And whichever one you feel the most weight in, we're just gonna see where in that foot we mostly feel it. So for example, I feel the most weight in my left. And so now I'm gonna go, okay, I'm gonna feel just my left foot and see, is it more in the front of my foot, the forefoot, or is it more in the back of my foot, the heel? For me, I notice it's more in my forefoot, so notice what you notice. And then in the forefoot, is it in the inside of the forefoot or the outside of the forefoot? For me, it's almost all right here on the outside of my left forefoot. That's where the majority of my weight feels like it's just distributing itself right now. So see where that is for you in whichever foot you chose. If you noticed that it was more in your heel, was it more in the inside or the outside of the heel? So you're just going to kind of pinpoint a couple of your most weighted spots in each of your feet and just kind of remember them and see if by the end of this little bit of balance and little bit of footwork that has changed at all. And then let's check in with the other foot, whatever foot you didn't check in with. Is it more in the front or the back of that foot? And whether it's the front or the back, is it more on the inside or the outside of the front or the back? So most of us can feel pretty accurately one or 2 points that have sort of the most pressure in either both of our feet or one or the other. If one of them feels very obvious, like I said, my very obvious lots of weight today is just right out here. So I'm just noticing that. Okay, so that's all we're doing for the feeling in the bottom of the feet for right now. Now I want you to go ahead and move up through your body and see how your knees feel today, your hips, your low back, your shoulders. Check in with your neck. And just notice any soreness, any tightness, things like that. And then we're going to see what it feels like to just balance on one foot. So I'm going to pick my left because that's where I had that most random outer pressure. I'm just going to press a little bit extra into that whole foot, enough to hover my right foot off the floor. Now I didn't bend either of my knees. You don't need to bend your knee to get your foot off the floor. You got to kind of shift your weight into your left leg and then press down a little bit from the left half of your pelvis as if you're trying to drop the left half of your pelvis toward the floor, and the right half will raise a little bit, and then we'll have a dangling straight leg here. So we're just going to hang out here for a second because there will be some movement and some jittering around probably. Of course, if this is really, really difficult for you, have something nearby to just have a hand on, right? You could have a countertop or just the back of a chair or something. But we're just standing here, and I want you to notice again that left foot. Do you still have a lot of pressure in whatever spot you noticed more than the other? How does your low back feel here? How do your knees feel? How do your hips feel? What are your shoulders doing? What's your neck doing? Just noticing, again, any tension, any discomfort, just any sort of anything curious or interesting. And we're going to do the same thing on the right foot. So we're going to keep both of our legs straight. And we're gonna press down with the right half of the pelvis. That's the leg you're about to balance on. So I'm gonna press down toward the floor with the right half of the pelvis. That'll lift the left half up a little bit. And then this other foot will hover up off the ground. And we're gonna notice in the right foot, the foot that's balancing, is it more or less jittery? Mine is more jittery on this side for some reason while I'm trying to balance. I feel my right knee is wanting to kind of bend and straighten. Just notice for you, where do you feel the muscle work? Do you feel any tension? How's your low back? How are your shoulders? How is your neck? And again, it's just curious, you know, just noticing what's it like to balance on this foot right now. Okay, and then we're going to come down and we're going to do some stuff for the feet that maybe, hopefully, will make that a little bit easier or just feel a little bit different. So the first thing we're going to do is just the foot hugs, which we've done before. So you're going to take, this is my left foot, so I'm going to take my right hand. So we're going opposites. I'm going to put the palm against the sole of the foot, and I'm going to thread my fingers through, right? So some of us may not be able to get down this deep. Everyone, most of you know, I've got very widespread, too wide in some spots, toes. So it's, for me, it's pretty easy to get my fingers through here. This one is not even really doing anything. So really, if anything, I should probably be squeezing this one together. But regardless, you're going to stick your fingers in there and do the little foot hug. So you're just going to kind of squeeze your hand and squeeze your foot like they're hugging each other, and then release, and then squeeze a little bit, and then release. And maybe let's just do 5. So 3, and then release, and then 4, and release, and 5, and then release. Okay, so that's just the foot hugs. Take a look at your own foot. Mine seem a little bit less purple to me, so I liked that for some circulation, at least in these outer toes. So let's do the other foot. Opposite hand, opposite foot, sole to palm. Lace those fingers in. And so if you can't get your fingers way down there, you're just getting them as far as you can. Just get any little bit of space between some of these toes is going to be better than not having any, right? So we're just trying to get our fingers between our toes, and then we're going to hug. 1, and release. 2, and then release. 3, release. 4, release. 5, and release. Okay, and then just take a look at your foot, see if it helped or changed anything. And then we're gonna do the splits. So we're gonna go back to the first foot. You're gonna grab a hold of one toe and then the next one, and you're gonna make them do the splits. One way, one the other. Yeah, just back and forth a couple times, then we'll move to the next 2. Back and forth. I love this one. And then we'll move to the next 2, back and forth. If nothing else, it's getting some circulation into some of these little guys who really, if you don't do enough foot motion or barefooting, they don't get as much circulation. Okay, and then we'll do the other foot. Splits. One way, one the other. One way, one the other. Splits. Little rocket toes. Splits. Okay. And lastly, on the floor down here, we're going to do the jellyfish. So most of you have done this before with me, but we're going to do it again. So the key is your toes go last. So you're going to kind of point your toes lightly. And then we're going to bring the whole foot back towards our bodies, but we're trying to leave the toes behind down here. So as we come back this way, toes are the last to come along. Same in the other direction. So we're going to move the whole foot, but the toes are going to be the last to come along. And so we're just going back and forth like that. Foot before toes. Feet before toes. Feet before toes. And yeah, you might get some cramps in your feet. Your toes might be like, what? I don't move separately. You might just find your feet really want to go like this, or your toes want to go first. Just play around with it. We're going to do 10. I'm pretending I've done 4 already. That might be some pretty accurate. 5. Toes are last. 6. 7. I'm counting both directions as 1. 8. I'm getting a little calf stretch. 2. 9. And 10. Okay. All right. And then we're going to stand up, and we're not done yet. We're going to do a calf stretch and the top of the foot stretch. So we'll do the top of the foot stretch first because I don't have a half dome nearby. So we're going to balance on one leg again. So let's balance on the left foot first. We're just going to press that left leg down into the ground so the right leg hovers up. And we're going to step this right foot back. And so now I'm on the top of that foot. Again, if it's hard for you to balance here, your hands can be holding on to a countertop or anything else. So I'm going to think about grounding the left foot. That's this front foot here that I'm standing on. I'm going to think about grounding that in my tripod. So we've talked about a tripod before, right? We're going to imagine that we've got 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points. So we've got a little triangle, and that's how you're balancing on your triangle. So you guys are standing there with your right foot back, and your left leg that you're balancing on, I want you to just think about your triangle and trying to keep that triangle grounded. And then we're going to do a little bit of a turn. So my right foot is back. So I'm going to turn my whole torso to my right. It's going to change where the stretch is on the top of my right foot, and it's going to change my balance on my left foot where I'm focusing on that tripod. And then back to center, and then out to the right, and then back to center, and we'll just do 3. Out to the right, and then back to center. And then we'll switch. Think about the tripod in your right foot now, a little triangle on the foot. Step the left foot back, and we'll balance here for a second and then start to turn. Both legs are straight ideally, right? And I'd rather have you have both legs straight here and have your hand on something if you really need it, than be standing with one bent knee or having to bend the other knee. And then we'll start to turn. Once, we'll turn left and back to center, and I'm focusing on having a tripod on this right foot that I'm standing on. Whoa. And then turning left again, and then back to center, and then turning left again, and then back to center. Okay? And then we're just going to do a little calf stretch. So I forgot to grab my half dome. So I'm going to grab one of my kids' little boxes of cards here. It's nicer if you have something sort of soft or sloped, but a book or a box or something works. We're just going to bring the ball of the foot up on it and be standing mostly on that heel. And that's enough of a stretch for me. This is pretty high up. when you're doing this, just kind of notice what the rest of you does. Can you stand with both your feet next to each other with your right foot stretching your calf, or does your knee need to bend, or does your chest shoot forward, or does your head stick out? Do you have to tuck under with your pelvis? Just noticing. And then you can just turn a little bit. You're just going to turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left. Those of you that were prepared and have your half dome near you will recognize this one from class. And then we'll switch and do the other foot. And, oh, that one's tight. I'm just going to stand here for a second. And then I'm going to turn a little bit left, turn a little bit right. Okay. Okay, and that's it for right now. I'm going to send another video along with this one for a little bit more full body balance, but I just want you to stand here for a second and feel what it feels like between your 2 feet. Mine has definitely changed. I don't feel the majority of my weight in that outside left spot anymore. It feels much more even. So see what it feels like for you. Between those 3 points, the tripod in both feet, do you feel a little bit more balanced? Between your right foot and your left foot, the front and the back of your feet, just noticing how you feel. And make your way up. How do your knees feel? How does your low back feel? Shoulders, neck. A lot of the time, just by moving our feet a little bit, we can decrease some of the tension or holding patterns in the rest of our body. So we're also going to just try a one-legged balance. So think of pressing the left half of your pelvis down toward the floor, keeping both of your legs straight, and that right foot will hover up off the ground. The right half of the pelvis will end up being hiked here a little bit. Try not to use your right low back to lift your right half up, right? Just really think about pressing down with the left. See how that feels. More jittery, less jittery, more grounded, less grounded. Feels more grounded to me. Hopefully it does to you guys too. Yeah. And then let's check the other foot. So we're going to press down from the right half of the pelvis down toward the floor. Feel the right tripod, the foot that's still on the ground. This left one is up off the floor. Feel what happens in the rest of your body. Do you lean as far to the side as you did earlier? How are your shoulders? How are your neck? I feel much less jittery on this foot. It's just, again, something to notice and observe, right? Sometimes if we just give our feet a little more attention, a little more freedom, the rest of the body becomes much more stable. Okay, cool. And part 2, we'll be doing just a little bit of standing up and balancing work. Do grab your half dome if you have it, and we're going to do a little bit of floor work on the half dome. And thanks for motivating me to paint my toes and shave my legs today. Hope everyone's doing good. Bye.